the weights of Jason's oranges are said to be normally distributed. So we need to use the normal distribution. So 84% of the crop weighs more than 152 grams and 16% weighs more than 200 grams. To find the mu, which is the mean, and the standard deviation for the crop, we can do it in two ways. We can use the calculator, or we can use the percentages from the normally distributed graph. And this is a graph of a normal distribution, and it is bell-shaped, but it is limited in its information. This graph is divided into 6 different sections. The 2 sections in the middle refer to the percentage of the population or data that we would expect around the mean. The mean is in the center of this bell shape. 34% approximately is just to the left of the mean, and the other 34% is 1 standard deviation to the right of the mean. Altogether, you can see that that makes up about 68%. And apart from the fact that about 13 or 14% is on the between first and the second deviation on both sides, we have also around 2% on both of the tails. Now notice that this graph never touches the x-axis. It keeps on going forever and ever, and there's always a tiny amount on the right-hand side of the tail as well as on the left-hand side of the tail, about 0.14%, so that when we take all the 3 standard deviations on both sides together, we end up 99.73% of the data is within those 3 standard deviations. But what is not explicitly shown to you in this graph is that this graph is totally symmetrical, and half of the data is on one side and the other half of the data is on the other side, which means that 50% is on the right and 50% is on the left. So you can see that this information will be enough for us to find the mu and the standard deviation for the crop if we start adding up the different sections together. We want 84% of the crop to weigh more than 152 grams. So we're going to be looking at the right-hand side of that graph. We know that the right-hand side of this graph contains 50% of the data. Since we want 84%, we can add 34% to 50, which will gives us the 84% required. So we just need to shade in one more section. This means that everything that's in the red is over 152 grams. To look for the 16% of the weights which are more than 200 grams, we will have to look at the right-hand side of the tail and add them up to 16%. So we see that there is a 14 here and there's a 2. These 2 will add up to 16%. So I can color in everything from the first standard deviation onwards in blue. And this tells me that my first standard deviation is going to be 200. So I have now enough information to be able to find the mean and the standard deviation. Since I already have 2 values here, one is 152 for a -1 standard deviation, followed by 200 for 1 standard deviation. So I have now identified 2 points. One is here of 152 grams, and the other one is at 1 standard deviation, which is 200 grams. And since the mean is halfway through, we can just find the average of 152 plus 200 and divide it by 2. And that should give us the mean, which should be 176 grams. Now the standard deviation is equal in all sections. And so in this particular case, we can find the standard deviation by taking 152 from 200 and then dividing that by 2. And that should give us 48 divided by 2, which is equal to 24. So our standard deviation is 24. And indeed it is 24, because if we add 24 to 152, we will get the mean of 176. And because we now have the standard deviation, we can identify each section. So in here, we'll just add another 24, which will be 224. And on the third deviation, we'll add another 24, which will be 248. The mean was 176. And we can go backwards as well, and we'll just take away 24 from 152 and get 128. And once again, we take away 24 to find the third standard deviation to the left, and we'll have 104. So the area under this curve will represent the percentage of oranges that weigh between this number of grams. So to find the percentage of oranges that would lie between weighing 152 and 224 grams, we could shade in the areas in which those weights lie, which would add up to 31.43, 31.43, and 13.59, altogether 76.45%. So around 77 oranges will weigh between 152 grams and 224 grams. So if you found this useful and helpful, then please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.